First contact, the arrival. The massive colony ship Earthseed emerged from hyperspace, its gleaming hull reflecting the light of an unfamiliar star. Captain Amelia Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen as a blue-green planet came into focus. "There it is, people," she announced, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her. "New Eden, our new home." Cheers erupted from the crew, a release of tension after their long journey. But Amelia knew the real challenges were just beginning. Colonizing an alien world was no easy task, even with years of preparation. Among the colonists was the Reyes family, Dr. Elena Reyes, a xenobiologist, her husband Marco, an agricultural engineer, and their 12-year-old daughter Zoe. While her parents were engrossed in last-minute preparations, Zoe pressed her face against a viewport, drinking in the sight of the planet below. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her imagination running wild with thoughts of the adventures awaiting her. As the Earthseed entered orbit, teams of surveyors and scientists began their work. Initial scans showed a breathable atmosphere and gravity close to Earth normal, a stroke of incredible luck. But it was the planet's biodiversity that truly astounded them. Dr. Reyes could barely contain her excitement as she pored over the preliminary data. "The evolutionary pathways here are fascinating," she told her colleagues. "The fauna especially. Some of these creatures are like nothing we've ever seen." While the adults made their plans, Zoe and the other children of the colony were kept busy with classes and simulations to prepare them for their new lives. But Zoe's mind was elsewhere, dreaming of the alien landscapes she would soon explore. Weeks passed as the colonists established their base. A site was chosen in a verdant valley, sheltered by towering purple-leafed trees. As prefab structures rose from the alien soil, the colonists began to feel a tentative sense of home. It was during this time that the first reports of the megafauna began to circulate. Scouting drones had captured footage of enormous creatures roaming the plains and forests beyond the colony's perimeter. Some were clearly herbivores, with long necks to reach high vegetation. Others were unmistakably predators, with powerful limbs and sharp teeth. The colony's security chief, a gruff ex-Marine named Sergeant Coda, advocated for stronger defenses. "We need to be prepared for anything," he insisted during a town meeting. "These animals could pose a serious threat." Dr. Reyes disagreed. "We're the invaders here," she argued. "We need to find a way to coexist with the native life, not wall ourselves off from it." The debate raged on, but for Zoe, the news of these incredible creatures only fueled her desire to explore. Despite strict rules about staying within the colony's boundaries, she found herself drawn to the perimeter fences, staring out at the alien wilderness beyond. It was on one such day, as the twin suns of New Eden were setting, that Zoe saw it for the first time. A massive shake moved at the edge of the nearby forest, larger than any animal she had ever seen. Its hide seemed to shimmer with bioluminescence, pulsing with colors that shifted from deep purple to electric blue. Zoe's heart raced as the creature turned its head, revealing eyes that glowed like molten gold. For a moment, those eyes locked with hers, and she felt a connection that defied explanation. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the creature melted back into the forest. Breathless, Zoe ran back to her family's quarters. "Mom, Dad, you won't believe what I saw," she exclaimed, bursting through the door. Elena looked up from her computer, amused by her daughter's excitement. "What is it, Maija?" As Zoe described the creature, Elena's expression grew serious. She pulled up a holographic display of the megafauna catalogued so far. "Was it like this?" she asked, showing an image of a large, predatory animal. Zoe shook her head. "No, it was bigger, and it glowed." Elena and Marco exchanged worried glances. "Zoe," Marco said gently, "you know it's not safe to be near the perimeter alone. Promise us you'll be more careful." Zoe nodded, but her mind was already racing with plans to see the creature again. She knew, deep in her heart, that this was the beginning of something extraordinary. Unknown to the human colonists, they were not alone in their observations. High above New Eden's atmosphere, cloaked in technology far beyond human understanding, an alien ship maintained a silent vigil. The Arxa, a species old when humanity's ancestors were still swinging through trees, watched the fledgling colony with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Zerdal, the Arxa mission commander, studied the holographic displays with his 4 eyes. "Fascinating," he murmured, his tentacles writhing with excitement. "They've made contact with Illumina already." His second-in-command, Vexara, fluttered her wing membranes nervously. "The Lumina are dangerous, even to us. Surely the humans will be destroyed if they encroach on their territory." Zerdal made a gesture of uncertainty, a ripple passing through his iridescent scales. "Perhaps, but there's something about these humans. They're adaptable in a way we've rarely seen. Let us watch and learn." As the Arxa debated, Zoe lay in her bed, unable to sleep. The image of the creature, the Lumina, though she didn't know its name, filled her thoughts. She felt a pull, a connection she couldn't explain but knew was real. In the days that followed, Zoe found every excuse she could to return to the spot where she had seen the Lumina. Her parents, busy with the monumental tasks of establishing the colony, didn't notice her frequent absences. It was on her 5th visit that her patience was rewarded. The Lumina emerged from the forest, its bioluminescent hide pulsing softly in the twilight. This time, Zoe was prepared. She had brought food, synthesized protein bars that were a poor substitute for real meat, but the best she could manage. With her heart pounding, Zoe slowly approached the perimeter fence. The Lumina watched her, its golden eyes unblinking. When she was as close as she dared, Zoe tossed a protein bar over the fence. The Lumina sniffed the offering cautiously, then in one swift motion snapped it up. Zoe grinned, feeling a surge of triumph. It was the beginning of a bond that would change not just her life, but the fate of 2 species. As New Eden's twin suns set, casting the alien world in an ethereal glow, neither Zoe nor the watching Arxa could have imagined the incredible journey that lay ahead. The stage was set for an adventure that would challenge the limits of human courage, compassion, and ingenuity, a tale that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The bond grows stronger. In the weeks that followed her first encounter with the Lumina, Zoe found herself drawn back to the perimeter fence with increasing frequency. Each visit brought new discoveries and a deepening connection with the magnificent creature. Zoe learned that the Lumina was intensely curious. It would watch her for hours, its luminescent hide shifting colors in mesmerizing patterns. She began to recognize certain color combinations as indicators of the creature's mood: soft blues for calm, pulsing purples for excitement, and sharp reds for agitation. One afternoon, as Zoe sat cross-legged near the fence, sketching the Lumina in her notebook, she noticed something extraordinary. The creature was mimicking her posture, settling its massive body into a seated position that mirrored her own. Zoe gasped, her pencil falling from her fingers. "You understand me," she whispered, awe filling her voice. The Lumina's hide rippled with shades of blue and gold, a combination Zoe had come to associate with contentment. It was in that moment that she decided to give her new friend a name. "I'm going to call you Aurora," Zoe said, smiling, "because you're as beautiful as the lights in the sky." Aurora's eyes seemed to glow brighter in response, and Zoe felt a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with New Eden's twin suns. Meanwhile, the human colony was facing its own set of challenges. The initial excitement of landing had given way to the harsh realities of establishing a foothold on an alien world. Crop yields were lower than expected, the native soil requiring extensive modification to support Earth plants. Strange bacteria in the water supply had caused a wave of illnesses, keeping Dr. Reyes and the medical team working around the clock. Captain Chen called a meeting of the colony's leadership to address these growing concerns. "We need solutions, people," she said, her normally composed demeanor showing signs of strain. "Our supplies from Earth won't last forever." Dr. Reyes spoke up, her eyes bright with an idea. "I've been studying the native flora and fauna. There's so much we could learn from the evolutionary adaptations here. If we could understand how the local life forms thrive in this environment, we might be able to apply that knowledge to our own efforts. Sergeant Coda scoffed. And how do you propose we do that? Those creatures out there would sooner eat us than teach us anything. Not necessarily, Elena countered. We've observed complex social behaviors in many species. With the right approach, we might be able to establish some form of communication. The debate continued, but Zoe, listening from just outside the meeting room, felt a surge of excitement. If only they knew about Aurora. But she kept her secret, instinctively understanding that the adults might not react well to her forbidden friendship. As the colony grappled with its challenges, the Arxer observers continued their silent vigil. Zerdal and Vexara watched the humans with growing fascination. Look at how they persist, despite their setbacks, Zerdal mused. Most species would have given up by now, called for evacuation. Vexara's wing membranes fluttered uncertainly. Perhaps, but at what cost? They're changing the planet to suit their needs, disrupting ecosystems that have existed for millions of years. Zerdal made a gesture of acknowledgement. True, but observe how some of them seek to learn from this world rather than simply conquer it. That young one, for instance, he focused their viewing screen on Zoe, who was once again at the perimeter, interacting with Aurora. Remarkable, Vexara admitted. I've never seen Illumina behave so docilely. Indeed, Zerdal agreed. We may need to reconsider our non-interference policy if this continues. Back on the surface, Zoe's bond with Aurora continued to deepen. She began sneaking food from the colony's greenhouses, fresh fruits and vegetables that Aurora seemed to relish far more than the protein bars. One day, feeling particularly bold, Zoe decided to try something new. She brought her tablet, loaded with recordings of Earth animals and their sounds. As Aurora approached, Zoe held up the tablet, playing the sound of a whale's song. Aurora froze, its hide flickering with rapid pulses of color. Then, to Zoe's amazement, the creature began to emit a low, melodious hum that resonated through the air. It wasn't an exact replication of the whale song, but the similarity was unmistakable. Tears sprang to Zoe's eyes. You can talk, she whispered. Oh, Aurora, do you know how incredible you are? Over the next few days, Zoe experimented with different sounds, discovering that Aurora could mimic a wide range of tones and pitches. She began to develop a rudimentary language with the creature, associating certain sounds with specific actions or objects. As Zoe's understanding of Aurora grew, so did her concern for her friend's safety. She had overheard discussions among the colony's security team about expanding the perimeter and neutralizing potential threats. The thought of anything happening to Aurora filled her with dread. One night, unable to sleep, Zoe made a decision. She would have to reveal her secret to someone who would help protect Aurora. But who would believe her? Who would understand? The answer came to her in a flash: her mother, Dr. Elena Reyes, with her passionate belief in learning from New Eden's ecosystem, would surely see the value in Zoe's discovery. Early the next morning, before the rest of the colony stirred, Zoe shook her mother awake. Mom, she whispered urgently, I need to show you something amazing. Elena, seeing the intensity in her daughter's eyes, nodded. All right, Maija, lead the way. As they approached the perimeter fence, Elena's expression shifted from curiosity to concern. Zoe, we shouldn't be out here. It's not safe. It's okay, Mom, Zoe assured her. Just watch. Zoe let out a series of clicks and whistles, the hello she'd had developed with Aurora. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, emerging from the misty forest like a living rainbow, Aurora appeared. Elena gasped, instinctively pulling Zoe behind her. But Zoe slipped from her grasp, approaching the fence with confidence. It's okay, she repeated. This is Aurora. She's my friend. As if to confirm Zoe's words, Aurora lowered its massive head, gently nuzzling the fence near Zoe's outstretched hand. Its hide rippled with soft blues and golds, the colors of contentment and affection. Elena watched, her scientific mind warring with her maternal instincts. Zoe, she breathed, Do you understand what you've done? This is revolutionary. Zoe turned to her mother, her eyes shining. I know. And Mom, there's so much more. Aurora can understand us in her own way. She can learn, communicate. We have to protect her. Elena nodded slowly, her mind racing with the implications of this discovery. We will, she promised. But Zoe, this has to be handled carefully. There are those in the colony who might see Aurora as a threat. As the twin suns of New Eden rose higher in the sky, mother and daughter stood side by side, watching the magnificent creature before them. They didn't know it yet, but this moment would mark a turning point, not just for their family or the colony, but for the future of human-alien relations across the galaxy. Above them, unseen and unheard, the Arxer observers recorded everything. Zerdal's 4 eyes widened in astonishment. Contact, he murmured. True, meaningful contact. Vexara, I believe we're witnessing history in the making. Vexara could only nod, her wing membranes quivering with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The humans had taken their first, stumbling steps towards a profound connection with New Eden. The question now was, where would this path lead them? Crisis and revelation. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the colony as Dr. Elena Reyes hurried towards the command center. Her mind raced, still processing the incredible revelation of Zoe's bond with Aurora. She had promised her daughter to keep the secret for now, but Elena knew she couldn't sit on this information for long. As she entered the building, alarms began to blare. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the intercom. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Elena's heart raced as she joined the gathering crowd in the main control room. Captain Chen stood at the center, her face grim as she addressed the colony's leadership. We've detected a massive storm system approaching from the west, Chen explained, gesturing to a holographic map. It's like nothing we've seen before. The atmospheric readings are off the charts. Dr. Reyes studied the data, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her concern. The electrical activity in those clouds, it's unprecedented. Our shelters weren't designed to withstand this kind of power. Sergeant Coda stepped forward, his jaw set. We need to evacuate to the ship. It's our only chance. No, Chen shook her head. The Earthseed systems were powered down for long-term storage. We'd never get her flight ready in time. As the arguments flew back and forth, Elena's thoughts turned to Zoe and Aurora. If the storm was as bad as the data suggested, it wouldn't just be the colony at risk. The entire ecosystem could be devastated. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the colony, Zoe had snuck out to warn Aurora. The young girl's hair whipped in the rising wind as she reached the fence. Aurora, she called out, using the series of clicks and whistles they had developed. Danger coming. Big storm. The Lumina emerged from the tree line, its hide pulsing with agitated reds and yellows. Aurora seemed to understand the urgency in Zoe's voice. The creature let out a low, mournful sound that Zoe had never heard before. To Zoe's amazement, other animals began to emerge from the forest. Herds of the herbivores they had dubbed thunder runners for their massive, pounding feet. Flocks of avian creatures with iridescent wings. Even some of the smaller predators moving warily around Aurora's massive form. There, gathering, Zoe whispered in awe. She realized that Aurora's call had been a warning, a signal to the other animals to prepare for the coming storm. Back in the colony, the debate had reached a fever pitch. We don't have time for this, Sergeant Coda shouted. We need to get everyone to the deepest, most secure structure we have and hope for the best. Just then, Elena burst into the room, out of breath. Wait, I think I might have a solution, but you're all going to have to trust me, and to keep an open mind. All eyes turned to her as Elena took a deep breath and began to explain about Zoe, Aurora, and the incredible bond they had formed. As she spoke, she could see the expressions around her shift from disbelief to shock to cautious hope. You're telling me your daughter has been communicating with one of those monsters? Coda asked incredulously. Not a monster, Elena corrected. An intelligent, empathetic being. One that might be able to help us. Captain Chen held up a hand for silence, her eyes fixed on Elena. What exactly are you proposing, Doctor? The native life forms have survived storms like this before, Elena explained. They must have natural shelters, ways of protecting themselves. If we can communicate with Aurora, maybe she can lead us to safety. The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, some supportive, others vehemently opposed. Chen silenced them with a sharp gesture. We're out of options and out of time. Dr. Reyes, you have 1 hour. If this doesn't work, we go with Sergeant Coda's plan. Elena nodded, relief and determination warring within her. As she turned to leave, Chen caught her arm. And Elena, bring your daughter. We're going to need her. Outside, the storm was gathering strength. Lightning arced between roiling clouds, and the wind howled with increasing fury. Zoe stood at the fence, her hand pressed against it as if she could reach through to touch Aurora. Zoe, Elena's voice carried over the wind. She ran towards her daughter, followed by Captain Chen and a small team of colonists. Mom, Zoe cried. Aurora's warning the other animals. She knows somewhere safe. Elena knelt beside her daughter, grasping her shoulders. Zoe, listen to me. The colony's in danger. We need Aurora's help. Do you think you can ask her to guide us? Zoe's eyes widened, then narrowed with determination. She turned back to the fence, letting out a complex series of sounds. Aurora's hide rippled with blues and purples, and she lowered her massive head to look directly at the gathered humans. For a moment, no one moved. Then, with a sound like tearing metal, Aurora's claws sliced through the perimeter fence. The colonists gasped, some reaching for weapons, but Elena held up a hand to stop them. Aurora stepped through the gap, lowering herself to the ground in a clear invitation. Zoe didn't hesitate. Before anyone could stop her, she climbed onto the Lumina's back. Come on, she shouted over the howling wind. We have to hurry. Captain Chen looked at Elena, who nodded firmly. We trust them, Elena said. Both of them. One by one, the colonists followed Zoe's lead, clambering onto Aurora's back or holding onto her bioluminescent hide. With a sound like rolling thunder, Aurora began to move, leading the strange procession towards the mountains in the distance. As they traveled, more animals joined them. The thunder runners kept pace alongside, while flocks of avians soared overhead. It was as if the entire ecosystem was moving as one, guided by some instinct the humans could barely comprehend. High above, hidden from human eyes, the Arxa ship rocked in the turbulent atmosphere. Zerdal and Vexara watched the unfolding events with a mixture of awe and trepidation. This is unprecedented, Vexara breathed. No species has ever integrated with a planet's ecosystem so quickly, so completely. Zerdal's tentacles writhed with excitement. The humans continue to surprise us. Perhaps it's time we reconsider our policy of non-interference. As the storm reached its full, terrifying power, Aurora led the humans and animals alike into a vast cave system hidden within the mountains. The caverns glowed with bioluminescent fungi, providing light and warmth. Inside, humans and aliens huddled together, finding unlikely comfort in each other's presence. Zoe sat leaning against Aurora, the luna's hide pulsing with soothing blues. Thank you, Zoe whispered, stroking the creature's scales. Aurora rumbled softly in response, a sound that resonated through the cave and seemed to calm everyone who heard it. As the storm raged outside, Elena found herself standing next to Captain Chen, watching the improbable scene before them. I never imagined anything like this, Chen admitted quietly. We came here thinking we'd conquer this world. Instead, we're learning to be a part of it, Elena finished. Thanks to a child who saw wonder where we saw danger. The crisis had brought revelation. As the colonists and native life forms waited out the storm together, it was clear that life on New Eden would never be the same. The true adventure was just beginning. Riding into battle. The days following the Great Storm were a whirlwind of activity and change for the New Eden colony. As the humans emerged from the K system, guided once again by Aurora and Zoe, they were met with a landscape transformed. The storm had reshaped valleys, uprooted ancient trees, and carved new waterways across the face of the planet. Captain Chen stood atop a ridge, surveying the damage with a grim expression. "Our colony site is gone," she announced to the gathered leadership. "We're going to have to start over." But amidst the destruction, there was hope. The bond forged between humans and the native life forms during the crisis had opened up new possibilities. Dr. Elena Reyes and her team worked tirelessly to expand on Zoe's method of communication with Aurora, developing a more comprehensive system of sounds and gestures to interact with various species. Zoe, for her part, had become something of a celebrity among both humans and animals. She spent her days riding Aurora, exploring the changed landscape and helping to bridge the gap between species. Other children, inspired by her example, began to form their own bonds with some of the smaller, less intimidating creatures. As weeks passed, the colony began to rebuild. This time, however, they did so with the aid of their new allies. The Thunder Runners, with their immense strength, helped move heavy materials. Flocks of avians scouted for suitable locations and resources. Even some of the smaller predators proved useful in hunting and pest control. But not everyone was thrilled with this new arrangement. Sergeant Coda and a faction of colonists remained deeply skeptical, arguing that relying on the native life forms was dangerous and unsustainable. "We're losing sight of our mission," Coda insisted during a particularly heated town meeting. "We came here to establish a human colony, not to go native." The debate might have continued indefinitely if not for a new threat that emerged from the post-storm chaos. Reports began to filter in of a new predator species, one that had apparently been driven from its normal hunting grounds by the storm's devastation. The colonists dubbed them shadow stalkers for their ability to blend almost perfectly with their surroundings. These creatures were unlike anything the humans had encountered before. Intelligent, coordinated, and ferociously aggressive, they began to prey on both humans and their animal allies with terrifying efficiency. Captain Chen called an emergency meeting of the colony's leadership. "We're dealing with a serious threat here," she began, her voice grave. "The shadow stalkers have already taken out 3 of our outlying sensor stations. If we don't act soon, they could overrun us entirely." Dr. Reyes spoke up, her eyes bright with an idea. "What if we don't face them alone? Aurora and the other native species have dealt with threats like this before. If we could coordinate our efforts, combine our technology with their knowledge of the environment." Sergeant Coda scoffed. "You want to ride into battle on the backs of monsters. This isn't some fairy tale." "No," Zoe's voice rang out, surprising everyone. She had snuck into the meeting, Aurora's luminescent patterns rippling across her clothes, a gift from the Lumina's bioluminescent hide. "It's not a fairy tale. It's our reality now. And Aurora isn't a monster, she's my friend. Our friend." A hush fell over the room. Captain Chen looked from Zoe to Elena, then to the rest of the leadership team. "Dr. Reyes, Zoe, what exactly do you propose?" Over the next hours, a plan took shape. It was audacious, unprecedented, and their best hope for survival. Teams of humans and animals would work together, combining human technology and ingenuity with a native species' natural abilities and knowledge of the terrain. As preparations were made, high above the planet, the Arxer observers watched with growing excitement. "Look at them," Zerdal marveled, his 4 eyes wide. "They're creating a true symbiosis, a melding of species and strategies we've never seen before." Vexara's wing membranes fluttered nervously. "It's incredible, yes. But if they fail?" "If they fail," Zerdal finished, "we may need to intervene. The shadow stalkers pose a threat to the entire planet's ecosystem. We cannot allow that." The day of the great hunt dawned bright and clear. Zoe, clad in a specially designed riding suit that mimicked Aurora's bioluminescent patterns, led a team of human and Lumina riders. They were the vanguard, meant to draw out the shadow stalkers and lead them into prepared ambush zones. Behind them came the thunder runners, each bearing human sharpshooters armed with tranquilizer rifles. Flocks of avians provided aerial reconnaissance, their keen eyes scanning for any sign of the elusive predators. As they moved deeper into the shadow stalkers' territory, the tension was palpable. Zoe could feel Aurora's muscles bunching beneath her, ready for action. She patted the luminous neck reassuringly, whispering, "We can do this, girl, together." Suddenly, the avians let out a shrieking cry, the signal that shadow stalkers had been spotted. In an instant, chaos erupted. The shadow stalkers seemed to materialize out of nowhere, their chameleonic hides shimmering as they charged. But the human-animal alliance was ready. Aurora let out a thunderous roar, her hide flashing with brilliant colors that seemed to confuse and disorient the shadow stalkers. The other Lumina followed suit, creating a dazzling light show that gave the human sharpshooters clear targets. Tranquilizer darts flew true, bringing down shadow stalker after shadow stalker. But the creatures were clever, adapting quickly to the humans' tactics. A group of them managed to flank the thunder runners, threatening to overturn the massive beasts and unseat their riders. Zoe saw the danger and made a split-second decision. "Aurora, we need to help them," she cried, using their special combination of sounds and gestures. The Lumina understood immediately, changing course with incredible agility for a creature of its size. They crashed into the flanking shadow stalkers like a living battering ram, Aurora's massive bulk and Zoe's quick thinking turning the tide of the battle. Inspired by their example, the other human Lumina teams coordinated their efforts, working in perfect harmony to outmaneuver and subdue the threat. As the last of the shadow stalkers fell to a well-placed tranquilizer dart, a cheer went up from the human riders. They had done it. Against all odds, that unprecedented alliance had triumphed. Back at the colony, the victory was met with jubilation and a new sense of unity. Even Sergeant Coda, bruised but grinning from his position atop a thunder runner, had to admit that the strategy had been a success. "I've never seen anything like it," he told Captain Chen, shaking his head in amazement. The way they worked together, it was like they could read each other's minds. Chen nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "I think we've discovered something here that's bigger than just survival. We're not just colonizing a planet anymore. We're becoming part of it." As the celebrations continued into the night, with humans and animals mingling in a way that would have seemed impossible just weeks before, Zoe sat with Aurora at the edge of the gathering. The luminous hide pulsed with soft, contented colors, mirroring the joy Zoe felt in her heart. "We did it, Aurora," she whispered, leaning against her friend's massive side. "We showed them all what we can do together." Aurora rumbled softly in response, a sound that seemed to say, "This is only the beginning." High above, unseen and unheard, the Arxa ship hummed with activity. Zerdal and Vexara were deep in discussion, that earlier debate forgotten in light of the day's events. "It's decided then," Zerdal said, his tentacles waving with excitement. "We will make contact. These humans, they've proven themselves worthy of joining the galactic community." Vexara nodded, her earlier doubts replaced by cautious optimism. Indeed, their ability to adapt, to form true symbiotic relationships with other species, it could change everything. As New Eden's twin suns set on the victorious colony, none of the humans or their animal allies could have guessed that their greatest adventure was yet to come. The stars above held new wonders, new challenges, and a place for humanity in a much larger cosmic tapestry. Cultural exchange. The weeks following the victory of the Shadow Stalkers saw a flurry of activity in the New Eden colony. The humans, now working in harmony with the native life forms, made rapid progress in rebuilding and expanding their settlement. But the greatest change was yet to come. It was a quiet evening when it happened. Zoe and Aurora were on one of their routine patrols around the colony's new perimeter when a brilliant light lit up the sky. At first, Zoe thought it might be an unusually vibrant aurora, inspired by her Lumina friend's bioluminescence. But as the light descended, taking shape, she realized this was something entirely new. "Mom," Captain Chen, Zoe called into her comm device, her voice trembling with excitement. I think we have visitors." The sleek, otherworldly craft touched down in a clearing just beyond the colony's boundaries. As the humans gathered, a mix of anticipation and apprehension in the air, a hatch opened in the side of the ship, and out stepped beings unlike anything they had ever seen. The Arxa, with their iridescent scales, multiple eyes, and graceful tentacles, were a sight to behold. Zerdal led the delegation, his 4 eyes taking in the assembled humans and animals with undisguised fascination. Captain Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and her voice steady despite the momentous nature of the occasion. "On behalf of the New Eden colony and the human race, I bid you welcome to our world." Zerdal's tentacles waved in a complex pattern that his translator rendered into English. "We thank you for your welcome, though perhaps it is we who should be welcoming you to the galactic community." As the initial shock wore off, the colony burst into a flurry of activity. Dr. Reyes and her team worked tirelessly to establish effective communication protocols with the Arxa, while Captain Chen and the Leadership Council engaged in diplomatic talks. Zoe, ever curious, found herself drawn to the alien visitors. With Aurora by her side, she approached Vexara, who seemed equally intrigued by the human Lumina pair. "Your bond with this creature is remarkable," Vexara said, her wing membranes fluttering gently. "We've observed many species across the galaxy, but never have we seen integration happen so quickly or so completely." Zoe beamed with pride, patting Aurora's side. "Aurora's not just a creature, she's my friend. We understand each other." Vexara's eyes seemed to smile. Indeed, it is this capacity for understanding, for forming connections across species lines, that makes your people so unique. As the days passed, the cultural exchange between humans, native life forms, and the Arxa grew richer and more complex. The Arxa shared glimpses of their advanced technology and their vast knowledge of the galaxy. In return, the humans offered their unique perspectives and their newfound harmony with New Eden's ecosystem. Dr. Reyes was in her element, working with Arxa scientists to catalog and study the planet's diverse life forms. "The implications are staggering," she told Captain Chen during one of their daily briefings. "The Arxa have encountered thousands of alien species, but they say our ability to form these kinds of bonds is unprecedented." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "It's opening doors we never even knew existed. The Arxa are talking about sponsoring us for membership in some kind of galactic federation." But not everyone was thrilled with these rapid changes. Sergeant Coda, while no longer openly hostile to the idea of working with the native life forms, viewed the Arxa with suspicion. "We barely know anything about them," he argued during a town meeting. "How can we be sure their intentions are peaceful? For all we know, this could be the prelude to an invasion." His words struck a chord with some of the colonists, who began to eye the alien visitors warily. The tension in the colony grew, threatening to undo the progress they had made. It was Zoe who found a way to bridge the gap. Inspired by her bond with Aurora, she proposed a cultural festival, a celebration that would showcase the unique abilities and perspectives of all 3 groups: humans, native life forms, and the Arxa. The festival was a riot of color, sound, and motion. Humans demonstrated their art, music, and technology. The native life forms, guided by their human partners, put on displays of their natural abilities, from the luminous, dazzling light shows to the Thunder Runner's feats of strength. The Arxa, for their part, shared holographic displays of distant worlds and performed hauntingly beautiful tentacle dances that left the human audience spellbound. As the festival reached its peak, Zoe and Aurora took center stage. Together, they performed a complex series of maneuvers that showcased the depth of their connection. Aurora's hide rippled with colors that seemed to dance in time with Zoe's movements, creating a living work of art. When they finished, the clearing erupted in cheers, not just from the humans, but from the Arxa as well. Even Sergeant Kodo was seen wiping a suspiciously moist eye. Zerdal approached Captain Chen as the festivities wound down. "We came here out of scientific curiosity," he said, his tentacles moving in gentle waves. "But we found something far more valuable, a reminder of the power of connection, of bridging the gaps between species. Your people have much to offer the galaxy." Chen smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. "And we have much to learn. But I think, together, we can build something truly extraordinary here." As the twin suns set on the festival, casting the world in a warm, golden glow, Zoe sat with Aurora, watching the mingling crowds of humans, animals, and aliens. She felt a sense of wonder and possibility that she had never experienced before. "We did it, Aurora," she whispered, leaning against her friend's warm side. "We showed them all how amazing it can be when we work together." Aurora rumbled softly in agreement, her hide pulsing with warm, contented colors. Around them, the chatter of multiple species filled the air, the sound of a new chapter beginning, not just for the New Eden colony, but for humanity's place in the vast, star-studded tapestry of the galaxy. As night fell and stars began to twinkle overhead, those gathered on New Eden couldn't help but feel that they stood on the brink of something monumental. The cultural exchange had opened doors and minds, paving the way for a future filled with untold possibilities and adventures among the stars. A new galactic order. In the months that followed the cultural festival, New Eden became a hub of interstellar activity. The news of humanity's unique ability to form symbiotic relationships with alien life forms spread rapidly through the galactic community, sparking intense interest from various species and civilizations. So, now 14, found herself at the center of this whirlwind of change. As the pioneer of human-lumina communication, she had become an unofficial ambassador, not just for humanity, but for the idea of interspecies cooperation itself. One crisp morning, as Zoe and Aurora patrolled the expanded colony boundaries, they encountered a sight that took their breath away. A massive ship, far larger than the Arxa vessel, hung in the sky like a second moon. Its surface shimmered with colors that seemed to defy description, shifting and changing as they watched. "Whoa," Zoe breathed, her eyes wide. Aurora rumbled in agreement, her hide pulsing with patterns of curiosity and excitement. Back at the colony, Captain Chen and Dr. Reyes were in deep discussion with Zerdal and Vexaura. The Arxa's tentacles were moving in rapid, complex patterns that their translators struggled to keep up with. "It's the Galactic Council," Zerdal explained, his four eyes blinking in quick succession. "They've come to assess humanity's readiness for full membership in the interstellar community." Chen's eyebrows shot up. "Already? But we've barely begun to understand our place in the galaxy." Vexaura's wing membranes fluttered gently. "That's precisely why they're here. Your species' rapid adaptation and integration with New Eden's ecosystem is unprecedented. It has unsettled some of the older races." As if on cue, a beam of light shot down from the massive ship, coalescing into a group of beings that defied easy description. Some seemed to be made of pure energy, while others had physical forms that challenged human understanding of biology. The leader of the delegation, a being that appeared to be composed of swirling stardust, addressed the gathered humans and Arxa. Its voice seemed to bypass their ears entirely, resonating directly in their minds. "We are the Galactic Council," it said, its tone a mixture of curiosity and caution. "We have come to witness the human phenomenon for ourselves." Over the next few days, the council members observed the colony's operations with keen interest. They watched as humans and native life forms worked together in perfect harmony, marveling at the deep bonds that had formed in such a short time. Zoe and Aurora became the focus of much of their attention. The council was particularly fascinated by their ability to communicate complex ideas and emotions across species lines. "In all our ends of existence, the stardust being told so, its voice filled with wonder. We have never seen anything quite like this. Your connection with Aurora, it challenges our understanding of consciousness itself." But not all the council members were as enthusiastic. Some viewed humanity's rapid progress with alarm, fearing the potential consequences of such a young species gaining too much influence too quickly. The debate came to a head during a formal hearing, with the entire colony and representatives from various galactic species in attendance. Arguments flew back and forth, some advocating for humanity's immediate inclusion in galactic affairs, others urging caution and further observation. As the discussion grew heated, Zoe felt a familiar warmth in her mind, Aurora, communicating her desire to help. With a deep breath, Zoe stepped forward, Aurora by her side. "Respected members of the council," she began, her voice clear and strong despite her nervousness. "I understand your concerns. We humans are young and we have much to learn. But isn't that true for all of us, no matter how ancient our civilizations?" She gestured to Aurora, whose hide was pulsing with supportive patterns. "What we've discovered here on New Eden isn't just about humans or Lumina, or any single species. It's about the potential for connection that exists between all living things. We've only scratched the surface of what's possible when we open our hearts and minds to each other." A murmur ran through the assembled beings as Zoe's words were translated into dozens of different languages and forms of communication. Even the most skeptical council members seemed to be considering her perspective. The stardust being floated forward, its form shimmering with what might have been approval. "Young one," it said, its mental voice resonating with warmth, "you speak with wisdom beyond your years. Perhaps it is we who have something to learn from humanity." After hours of further deliberation, the council reached a decision. Humanity would be granted provisional membership in the galactic community, with New Eden serving as a hub for cultural exchange and cooperative research. As the news spread, the colony erupted in celebration. Humans, native life forms, and alien visitors alike joined in a spontaneous festival that lasted well into the night. The sky above New Eden was alive with the lights of ships from a dozen different worlds, their crews eager to witness the dawn of a new era. In the midst of the jubilation, Zoe found a quiet moment with Aurora, gazing up at the star-filled sky. "Can you believe it, girl?" she whispered, her hand resting on the Lumina's warm hide. "We're part of something so much bigger now." Aurora rumbled softly, her bioluminescent patterns forming shapes that Zoe had come to recognize as representations of stars and planets. It was as if the Lumina was trying to express her own understanding of their new place in the cosmos. As the celebration continued around them, Zoe felt a profound sense of both excitement and responsibility. Humanity had been given an incredible opportunity, but it came with great challenges. They would need to navigate complex interstellar politics, balance their own interests with those of their new allies, and continue to grow and learn at a rapid pace. But looking at Aurora, feeling the strength of their bond, and knowing how far they had come together, Zoe felt ready for whatever the future might hold. They had started this journey as two different species on a strange new world. Now they stood as partners and friends, poised to help shape the future of the galaxy itself. As New Eden's twin suns began to rise, heralding the dawn of a new day and a new era, Zoe and Aurora set off on a morning ride. The colony was stirring to life behind them, humans and aliens alike preparing for another day of discovery and cooperation. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But as they crested a hill, looking out over the vibrant landscape of their adopted home, Zoe felt a surge of hope and determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as humans or as inhabitants of New Eden, but as citizens of a vast and wondrous galaxy, bound together by the power of understanding and friendship. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning.